Rich Watson, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to get into a conversation in an area that actually I'm probably not the most knowledgeable about. So I have a ton of questions, and probably some of the questions that I'm going to be asking today are the questions and thoughts that clients and e-commerce brands and brands out there in general probably would want to ask an augmented reality expert. But yeah, to kick things off, like I'd love to just find out, like, how did you get started with augmented reality?
Yeah, sure, man. So yeah, I've been doing Facebook ads and D2C and e-commerce, and also some lead gen for 6 to 7 years. And you know, no one's a stranger to what changes that we've been going through the last couple of years. And it really brought the foundations of marketing to really the forefront of all the client work I was doing. So I was working with some agencies, and one of the biggest struggles I was having was some of them, and not all of them, of course, but some of them were really struggling with providing the right creative that really would help us to convey the right message, to really build a good relationship with people, and to really get, a really good experience for the customer. So I was starting to look at some other sort of avenues of how to do this. And I just came up on, augmented reality, and augmented reality has been part of Facebook now for, I think 3 years, 2 years or something like that. So they're currently going through, a lot of changes, a lot of updates, and it's just getting amazing. But I started to sort of test it out and see, how can we make the ad experience, as unique as possible, as immersive as possible, and how can we really build a relationship with our customers and sort of stand out from the competition in, as short a space as possible, because people's attention span on social is quite short, right? So we started to test these creatives out, and we were just having some really amazing results off the bat. And I was just like, oh wow, there's something in this. So I sort of started to work with some other agencies from networks that I'm in, and we started to get them some really good results as well. And I was just thinking, well, actually, this is a real thing. This could be a really huge thing to help out a lot of people. So since then, we've formed the Augmented Hype, and we're helping e-commerce brands and agencies basically roll these out, augmented reality ads for Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to be starting to move into other platforms, and also into 3D renderings for product pages and catalogs and things like that. But yeah, it's just this really exciting time where there's a lot changing, and there's a whole lot of emphasis on the metaverse coming, and everyone jumping into Web3. And I really feel like AR is the first iteration of how this is going to work, and how sort of marketing is going to sort of evolve towards that point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you mentioned was that AR has been around for quite a while now, and we've all enjoyed using AR knowingly or unknowingly when we are applying filters on Snapchat or on Instagram. And we've also seen a lot of the big players have been using AR for quite a while. How can brands that are maybe not at the level of a Samsung or a L'Oreal, for example, how can they leverage AR in their own marketing campaigns? And why do you think that we haven't had that adoption from mass market? Because these filters, everybody loves them. Why are more people not doing it?
Yeah, really good question. So my opinion on it is that the skill is a fairly new one, and digital creators are quite a rarity. It's definitely growing in popularity. And interestingly, I was having a discussion with someone earlier that I was talking to about this, is how developers, web developers have become, a super prized position and a job and things within the last, 5 to 10 years. That's basically going to be creators within the next 5 to 10 years, because they're going to be creating the world that we live in and the things that we experience. So I think the fact that there's not that many creators, and they're also from all over the world, every sort of culture, every sort of country, everywhere, they're far reaching, and there's so much skill and talent. And in Vietnam, where I am, I'm finding more and more creators every day, and there's some amazing people doing some awesome stuff. So I guess part of it's maybe culture, language barrier as well, because there's a lot of skill in different countries where maybe English is their first language, and marketing, I'm not saying marketing on the whole is just an English-based thing, but for our industry anyway, it's all quite English-centric. So I think that's probably quite a big part of it. And that also leads to it being quite expensive, because it's quite hard to find talent who can create these things for you. So the bigger companies, the more established companies, would just have more resources to find someone, or even train people in-house to do it for them. And then that really, for everybody else, they sort of see these things and maybe they sort of don't think they're quite there yet, they're not quite established enough, and they don't necessarily want to be the canary in their mine, like in their industry, of trying this thing out. Because, for example, everybody knows that it works well for face filters and for trying things on. But say you have a carpet store, or you say you sell beds or something, there's not that many examples. I mean, IKEA have actually been doing some AR, so I guess there's something related there. But it's when you've not seen something that directly relevant to what you're selling, I think it's a bit of a scary concept. But really, like AR, for anyone who's interested and anyone wants to look into it, I would urge you to look on Spark AR Hub and just have a look at the gallery, and just have a look at the expansive tech of amazing skills and creativity is on there. It's really just a way of envisioning the creatives and the messaging that works already into an immersive experience. And it's really as simple as that, because if you have a product that serves like a purpose, or it solves a problem for the customer, or you give them a unique experience, that's basically what you want to do in the AR experience for them to really get to know you and get to know your brand.
Yeah, I guess that is the big challenge, is that if you were to put a job post on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm looking for an AR content creator specialist, someone like yourself probably could name the majority of the people in the world who are going to apply for that position at present, because
Right.
it is still quite niche. And what kind of skill set should a brand be looking at, either like for someone to develop in this area, or even like, is it feasible, or should it just be something that they go to an agency for? Is that the easiest route?
Yeah, well, you have lots of different ways of going about it. So you have agencies who will basically do it for you. They'll have their own in-house creators. That's also how we work as well. We have creators that we work with, and they come up with a strategy, they come up with the concept, and they could even implement it in the ads account for you. You also have like things like cross creators. So it's a good friend of mine, Annie, who has a website where you can basically be matched with creators. So you put in specifically what you want, and then they'll match you with someone who's good at that sort of AR filter. And then you also have creative agencies and studios who have this bank of sort of experience of different like case studies and things that they've done already. Reaching out to like one-on-one to a creator also is another opportunity for to look into this. But with a lot of these cases, you're basically going to get like a really amazing creative that's very aesthetically pleasing, but it may not be attached to a marketing strategy. And I think that's really important, because if you're having this amazing creative, investing into this creative, because it is an investment, and it's not going to be attached to your goals, not going to be attached to the objectives and things you have in mind for it, and that's going to have a big part in how it's created, you're potentially going to be left with something that's going to be unusable, and you'll sort of throw AR out as something that didn't work. But if you really understand how a creative can get people to the place where you want them to be, give them an experience they want, and really build your authority in your space, then you can create something that's going to be absolutely amazingly powerful, and then help you stand out above everybody else on the feed.
That kind of reminds me of that dialogue that a lot of creative agencies have. You have the creative agency that makes something that looks like beautiful, that might be functional, and then you have that niche within that of like performance creative, so people who are designing things that are going to have an impact. And I think that would always be a fear that I think brands would approach with augmented reality, is that like, how do they know that something is going to cut through, not only visually, but actually with the end goal of either improving brand awareness or improving conversion. And I can definitely see the value in tapping into someone who can say, like, here's some different strategies for an augmented reality campaign for you, this is the best one that you should be using if you want to improve X, maybe brand awareness or brand recall. Here's one that you just want people interacting with your brand and your audience building. Maybe you go for gamification. Like what sort of tricks and tactics, you know, are you bringing into that? Like if people have these different objectives, are there different AR filters and ways to leverage them depending on their campaign goals?
Yeah, really good question. So yeah, you can basically, within Facebook ads specifically, you can have 4 different objectives for AR ads. So you can have brand awareness, reach, traffic, or conversions. And really the only difference with the actual creative is that traffic and conversions are a CTA button. And it's a huge CTA button as well. Like on your phone, I think it takes up like, I don't know, 20% of the screen, and it bounces. It's absolutely amazing. So I think after like people have initially looked at their face for 10 seconds, they go look down there and leads them into a decision. And then with the brand awareness and reach, it's a swipe up because everybody's very used to that. So you can use it in many different ways. And the way we've used sort of brand awareness and reach is for things like competitions, for building awareness of people's pages, like building pages, using micro-influencers. You know, they can share the filters around, and then once people have taken a video of themselves or used it in their space, they can then share that video, take that picture, send it to their friends, share on social media, all sorts of things like that. Or you can have a straight up things like like gamification and like try on filters and aesthetic filters. When you're really like adorning yourself or you're trying something on, you can go directly to the landing page where those products are basically housed. And you've already like seen what they look like. So there's really like little to object to, apart from if someone has a terrible landing page or their shipping is too expensive or something, because you've already done that work for them. Whereas, how it currently is you have this amazing creative that grabs someone's attention. Maybe it grabs their attention for 20 seconds or so. They go to the landing page, and that's really where they're making their decision. Where I feel like AR and the way everything's moving is the decision's going to be a bit made a bit more sooner on the platform, and it's going to be the actual platform experience of the brand that you're having on Facebook or on Meta. That's really going to drive the decision. And I feel like it's the same way that Amazon, if you sell something on Amazon, it has this authority to it, whereas if you have your own website, so it's going to be the same sort of iteration. And on top of that, this immersive experience where you're able to with examples like a lipstick filter, you couldn't even go into a store and put lipstick on. It's like they just kick you out and be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, stuff gets messy. You end up looking like Chucky or something.
Yeah, you just buy all these different shades on it. I don't know, some weird goop. So it just makes people's decision making much easier. And with some of these stuff we've been running, they actually saw less returns. So I talk about this case study with children's sunglasses, and they actually had 25% less returns after they're running this ad for like 3 months, because people saw what they look like. There's not this buyer's remorse when you get the products and it's like, oh, it's not quite what I wanted. People are concerned with, is what they're seeing on the website going to be what it is? But with AR, you can make it so aesthetically accurate that it can be a true depiction of really what the product is.
And that's insane value. I mean, it's something that in society at the moment, like, is an endemic problem, is returning goods. It's horrendous for the carbon footprint, but also for the businesses that are trading. I think that like average return rates is around 50% in Europe. In Germany, it goes up to 55%. And if you're selling denim jeans, God help you, if you're selling denim jeans in Germany, it's like 65-70% return.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is one of the things that brands actually should be starting to factor in, is like, how do we reduce returns so that if you can try on an item with a filter and think, hey, this looks good, it suits me, like, go to use your sunglasses analogy, maybe for adults, like if you're going to an event and you want some new sunglasses, like you can put your outfit on, you can put your sunglasses on and say like, hey, this pair match my outfit. Like, instead of ordering 3 pairs, returning 2 and keeping 1, you've tried it on. And I think the returns are responsible, I think it's a £6 billion cost on the market returns of e-commerce goods. Like, I mean,
saving 25% of that. It's quite a big,
yeah,
amount.
like it's ridiculous. And the thing that brands are coming round to as well with the returns at the moment is like there's no return on your media spend to the platform. They're not going to give you your ad spend back because someone returns goods. So anything that brands can do to minimize returns, like, I mean, there's a financial equation to it. There's value in that, and if you can cut 25%, like, why are more brands not jumping on this? It's just like, it's just insane. And I think it goes back to what you said at the very beginning, that like nobody wants to be the canary down the mine.
Fear of going first. It's a new one. It's FOGF. I just made that up. It's called fear of going first. Yeah, that's what it is. The reality, they're not really first. It's just that the use cases and case studies just aren't as out there as others are, and because it's such a new, it's quite a big change in terms of technology for people, especially the older generation. I mean, I got nieces and they're on TikTok all the time and they're doing all these dances and stuff, and I'm just looking at that like that's so alien to me now, because I'm an old man now. That's just, but that's how it must feel for people like within our industry. It just feels like it's quite a new thing, and especially for brand owners and things that they're a bit more risk averse, and especially that wavy performance on Facebook due to the stuff we've been going through. And it just seems like, I think one of the biggest fears is that it's going to be this expensive, this investment where you're not going to get a return. But when they see, the massive adoption of people like you mentioned, like Nike, and they're all, investing heavily into this and the metaverse, it's just going to become way more commonplace. And it will just take that adoption of more people to try it out, and also the affordability to get there as well, so that more people can sort of start using this. And also services such as mine that sort of, tie that gap between, okay, I know the value in augmented reality, but I don't know how that can actually equate to a creative for my agency. So we need someone to come in and help us with that. We also need it produced, and we also need a strategy behind it. So there's all these different pieces that sort of get placed together. And the more of those sort of things that are appearing, and the more widely adopted get by everybody, the more likely it's going to be to just take off, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's knowing. I think brand owners most brand owners haven't explored this area, and it's almost like they come across things by chance, so that the dialogue needs to be greater, so that the more people shouting about successful results, or the more people looking at the augmented reality case studies that are on they're on the Meta platform, they're on Spark as well, seeing this and then starting to have the right people in the room, whether it's like agency side like yourself, or like the marketing or growth marketing team, like looking and seeing, hey, like Samsung did this, and then it gets that cog in their brain working, like, hang on, like we've got a cool product, like how do we do it, and we could do this, and actually like just having the discussion to get the ideas flowing, and then it actually becomes more of a relatable project. But whilst there's an unknown, it's just only talked about in people who are really looking to push the envelope. Is that something you're finding?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why like the way we're working with people is sort of converted and evolved into this partnership where we're becoming an AR specialist for the agency. So we're not like this sort of external thing. And the way we present ourselves to their clients is part of their agency, so that we're able to help them get this value through and help them to visualize the concepts, the strategies, and how it can equate to even projections, and saying, okay, we've seen, that your ads doing this sort of, scale, and we know that AR ads can do this for your engagement, so therefore we can see this. And all these things are all backed up by data and different case studies. And it does just take something. Do you know what it is about AR, right? It's AR for me has made Facebook ads exciting again. Like when I was first getting into Facebook ads, it was so awesome. It was just this really cool thing where you're like cutting edge, and it was a long time ago, and it sort of remained that way. And I guess it's been beaten up recently, right? And I feel like this is like this renewed excitement to do with it, and it's made marketing and direct to consumer, like advertising, way more exciting again. And it's about getting the cogs turning. It's about getting the right concepts in place and getting that inspiration going, and then producing something that's able to give people this amazing result and help them like smash their competition. And then everyone will be.
Then everyone's going to jump on it. And that'll be but I think I completely agree with you in terms of like getting excited about something like new that you can use within a platform. You know, we categorize the different types of content that we run. So you've got your single image, you've got your product unboxing videos, you've got your UGC that everybody's doing, and it's like, as a marketer, you always want to be at the front of like leading the way, and to have another tool in your tool belt to pull out like is super exciting, so that you can stand out from your competition, so that you have this like, and I think also it probably fires up creative teams to sit there and think like, what can we do? Oh, well, augmented reality is an area. Like, let's just jam on augmented reality like ideas, and it almost feels endless with that like possibilities at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And for brands, it's a way of standing out, and for agencies the same. If they've got a load of awesome case studies of AR ads, and everybody's a bit disenchanted with Facebook, and they're looking for another agency, and your agency are doing this and they're completely standing out for everyone else, and you've got these case studies, it's a lead generation tool as much as anything else. You can even let your prospects try out the filters that you've already been using and already invested in for others, and that's enough to probably like get some amazing interest and some awesome calls and conversations going. So it's as much of a lead generation tool as it is for, you know, something that brands can use.
Yeah, and is there any way for brands to like find like active use cases? So is there like an ads library for augmented reality ads, or is like how can brands find examples just to sort of start that ball rolling?
There isn't really anything. I mean, Meta have some case studies. I think Snapchat as well. I mean, I subscribe to quite a few. I mean, they're super nerdy, like AR Insider and Spectral News. I'm not even sure how to say that probably. But they're like newsletters and things like that. So they're a really good place to learn a lot about in detail about AR. I'm not sure if people would have the time to do that really, but that's one place I'd look. But I basically created a Facebook group called AR Ad Strategies, where it's a free group, and there's no real agenda behind it apart from I go in there and just share examples of what AR is doing, you know, what sort of examples of how people are using it, people within your space, case studies, also things like that. And then people just ask questions on, you know, oh, could it work for this? And how would we work it for this? And just start this conversation of how, you know, AR actual, you know, the strategies can work for Facebook ads. But other than that, I don't know anywhere where people could find them. Like there's no real bank of anywhere. So I guess, yeah, that's probably the best place.
I think that's one of the challenges as well with, it's almost like you stumble across like an augmented reality like ad or a piece of content when you're scrolling in the feed. Can, for example, if you post an example of a brand's augmented reality campaign, is it possible then for somebody within the group to then go on to Instagram or go on to the website to try to like actually get the augmented experience themselves? Is that a possibility? Because I think,
yeah, if I have the link, if usually with the filters I share, if I've got the link of it, I'll share it, and then you can actually try it out on your phone yourself, and you can do it for most of your time. I was using one for so it's a web AR project, but it's for a company who are working with brands with watches and trainers, and that capability isn't there yet for Spark AR, so you can't yet try watches because the rotational tracking isn't great, and shoes because the body tracking isn't great on Spark AR, but it's still definitely in development. But that's a really good example of like where it's going to be. So you can see how the adoption of all these different places is going to, you know, work and sort of try out. but you can literally go, like, most of the examples I share on there, if I have the link of it, you can actually go and try it out for yourself.
And I think that's got to be the way forward, is like getting more like brand owners and visionaries within businesses, like playing I think that's the best way to explain it, like playing with these tools, because I mean, in a conversation with yourself already, like my brain's going like a million miles an hour in terms of like, oh my God, we could do this with this brand, or we could do this with this brand, like, and starting to see like how it can come into play just by having a conversation like this. But I think one of the other concerns is about the cost to produce these AR campaigns. Like, do you have an overview of like what the industry costs are, like how much a brand should be budgeting if they are wanting to get involved with augmented reality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for the Meta preferred partners, the sort of industry average of my research, and if any of them listening, then feel free to update me. But when I was doing my initial research into before I started to do it myself, I was doing it through those sort of partners, through studios and things like that. And it really depends on the complexity of the filter. So you can get like a massive range of complexities, ranging from a simple filter where there's some aesthetic change or some colors or sounds or something like that, to something where there's things like portal filters, where it's literally a space you step into, almost like VR. A window opens up and you step into it like another world. And that's probably like the most complex sort of filter you can get created, just because there's so many different assets and a lot going on, and a lot of design work needs to go into that. I think the range is really around upwards of about 10K to anywhere up to like 50K. So I know there's a few creators working with like Netflix, and I even know creators, like one of the creators I work with actually had a filter on Ellen. It was one where they're playing a game. Yeah, so they helped the team that created that. So it really depends on the use case, what the strategy is and everything, and the complexity. But I'd probably say that's like the sort of industry standard of pricing at the moment.
And what's the sort of shelf life? I think in an age where brands that are doing their TikToks and you have to change content almost every couple of days, like what is the shelf life of an augmented reality campaign?
I think it's very long. So once you've had an asset created and put into an experience, you can actually use it at different parts of the funnel. You can use it in different objectives. It can have so many different ways of working, paid or organic. And I think you'll be able to run it past 6 months. You can even have it like tweaked based on certain seasonal things that are coming up. So Christmas, you can have something more Christmas based, Valentine's Day, something more Valentine's Day based. And the actual tweaks will be fairly, inexpensive. So I think you can run it for a really long time. And the fact that it's like a more immersive and sort of novelty aspect to it, I think the frequency can be pushed a little bit more on it. So I'd say like past 6 months. That's quite a long time. Obviously, depending on spend and everything you're doing within your account. But yeah. They can go.
And is it something where you can have like a first round product, like a go-to-market product, and then it like build like upon it, so that, for example, a brand starts with a launch like go-to-market product with AR, and then they see, oh, we've had success. Like, can you build upon it and develop on that base? Is that how it works, or do they need to constantly design it?
That's a cool strategy. I do like the sound of that. I think that's a really good strategy to employ. So you can have experiences where you can have a catalog of different things you swipe through. So within the experience, you'll just have this little menu. It's almost like, on highlights on the top of your Instagram, you just have this little circles. You just scroll them along and you can just change the filter or change the background depending on what it is. Or even if it's something interactive, the different options will be something that's interactive. So it'll be a different way of interacting with it. And you could do something like this. So for top of the funnel, for one of the brands, one of the agencies we work with, we're working with a cosmetic brand. And for the top of the funnel creative, we had this creative that was more of a interactive based filter. So when you use it, it was a lipstick and had some blusher and sort of aesthetic based. It was this sort of opening and closing mouth action that would change how it looked. So you could basically cycle through these different products. But really the idea there, and of course the objective was conversion for that, so people could go through and, you know, purchase. But the idea there was to get people to go in and try this out and really experience how these different shades on them look and how it could work. And then we were retargeting people based on their, you know, how far down the sort of experience they'd gotten. And then they would actually experience it with that carousel that I mentioned. So they could even have the specific shades they were looking at. And then it's like, oh, okay, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then we would send them through to a landing page where there's bundles. So people have already tried loads of these different colors on. They found all these different shades were working for them. And basically people could add more to the cart than they would normally, because maybe they think this shade's too dark for me or this one's too light. Because they've had the actual experience of how it works, people are stacking their carts. So we've seen that in like quite a few of the case studies we've had, where people, as long as you're including, you know, complementary products together, people tend to stack their cart once they've really experienced what it's like. So AOV just, you know, goes through the roof. It's really cool.
That's so cool. And is there ways to build in like shareable elements? So if you're using an AR filter, like to work on this, like almost this dark social reach and sharing, so that you're using the filter, you put on some lipstick and then you're sharing it to your friend.
Yeah. So you can share it. You can share it, and it should. And so with the video, not with so much with the image, with the video, we'll have a link to the actual filter itself. So you'll be able to actually, everyone who uses it, you'll basically be able to retarget them. So you could just have this sort of amazing compounding effect of, you know, them sharing it to their 10 friends and them sharing it to their 10 friends, and everybody who's on there, you can then retarget them. It's just absolutely incredible. That'd be really amazing ways of doing it. And yeah, for competitions and things like that, it can be the same. So it's like, take a video or, you know, a selfie of yourself and send it through, and you're entered into this competition and things like that.
That's so cool. It almost opens up like so many different realms. For example, you're going out on a night out and you're not sure how to do, like, what shade of blusher or what shade of lipstick to wear. Like 3AR, you go through the AR filter, you take three images, you send it to your friend, hey, which one?
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
There's almost like that retention play, so that post-purchase, like, you know, if you buy 3, you can still use that filter to be like, hey, which color lipstick should I have tonight? Send it to your friends, and then they're like, oh my god, this brand's insane. Like, yeah. I could, like, right. I get like someone helping me, like I can almost send it to my friends, like they can play around with it. Like, it's so cool. And then factoring in, which must be the future, when we kind of get these quick delivery times, like you could be going out in an evening, and if brands have the distribution network, you try on a filter, you try on the lipstick, you order it, it's there before you go out in the evening. Like, that's the future of it. It's like,
yeah, you're right, because well, especially for like cosmetics and fashion, you sort of have it in mind for something you're going to do, or you have like an event coming up or something and you shop for it, and you could have that the decision made so much quicker. But basically as quick as you would basically on the high street, right? But you're in the comfort of your own home, and you can get it sent, and you could try multiple different things in a much shorter space of time. So yeah, that's a really cool use case. I like the sound of that.
And what, like, I'm really focused here at the moment. I think just because we work a lot with fashion and beauty brands, like that's where my mind's at. I'm like, oh my god, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. But like in terms of like gamification, so I've seen brands like IKEA, they do, they're using, is it front camera or is it rear camera? Their AR campaigns where you're going through the store.
Oh, the rear camera one, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Like, what are some cool uses for like that sort of rear camera campaigns? I know there's a few out there.
Yeah. For rear camera one, so we created a filter for a portable projector brand, and the idea for them is that you can, like, you make magical moments anywhere. So it's really ideally for like family and children and their parents to sit down together, have some quality time, watch an awesome movie, bond basically. And the portable projector's idea was to have it so you can basically take it with you. It's a really cool little thing. and you could basically take it outside with you. You could put it inside any room in your house. And the idea is like, where would it fit in the house? Like, where would it look good? And that's people's main concern. It's like, okay, right, if we bought this thing, then how would we use it? Would it get use? So how can you test it out? Well, the filter, basically, you put the little projector down, you turn it on, you interact with it, and the screen comes out, and there's like this floaty screen, and you can put it against the wall in your living room, or in your lounge or whatever, and try it out even outside. And you can even see like firsthand how it will look, and you envision how that experience will go and things like that. So not only something that's adorning yourself, but something very, like decor or something like that can work really well, like canvases. And you can just try something out like that and see really how it's gonna, affect your life or improve your life if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's like going back to that idea of like being able to really test something before you buy it, and seeing it in, like, actually picturing it in your life, rather than like ordering something and then having that big question mark of, am I going to like it? Is it going to, is the couch going to match my living room color? Like all these things are almost taken out, because you can actually pick the space, pick the couch, pick the color, put it in there and say, do we like it? Send it to your friends. Do you like it? Yep, everybody likes it. Great, I've bought it. Like, it's there. I'm so satisfied with my purchase. And
yeah, that's really cool. And on the gamification side of things, if you're doing something in store, it can be really, like, in terms of ads, I guess there would be a certain unique strategy to it, but you could, there's already, like, I can't remember who is it? Was it John Lewis or someone else that's already using AR? So I don't think it's John Lewis now. Now I've said that, I think it's someone else. But they basically have their own app. So it obviously can be done in apps and web AR as well, where you go into the store, you interact with this AR, and the AR will basically use your shopping list and navigate you to certain places in the store with arrows to show you where to go and things like that. And then also you can introduce like some, the store owner could introduce some certain offers that they want people to pay attention to, or buy one, get one free, or things like this, and direct you to them, or highlight them to you as you're going around. So I guess it's probably a little bit uncomfortable for people to walk around, doing this, walking around a store, but something like that could work really well for that side of things. Or like competitions as well. So there was this project in Singapore where they were working on like getting people to a certain public space, and then when you get to this public space, you can collect these little water droplets, and every water droplet you get, it gets you like points. But when you go through them, basically it collects it, and it like accrues your points up, and at the end of the course, it basically counts it all up. But if you reached a certain point, you basically get this discount off this sports gear. So it's all this centered around going outside, exercising, and things like that. So there's so many different ways you can do it. I guess like with ads, you could definitely do some gamification aspects of something like that. We were going to work with, I won't say the name because we didn't end up working with them yet, but a famous burger brand. And we were going to have a game basically where you stack this burger, like all these burger bits fall down and you just move your head and then it collects like entirety. And it gives you like almost like Tetris. It's like you have to make this burger, like, and you have to find all the bits and put it together, and then once you've done it, you get this like offer or discount that you can use in store. So yeah, that was going to be really cool, and things like that could just build huge awareness because everybody wants to try out. Like the Squid Game, like the Squid Game, someone made a filter. So I know the guy based in Singapore. That was insane. Like the reach on that was in the billions. Like it did so well. And of course for him, they've got their own studio and they do AR and stuff as well. But imagine if that's tied to a brand, like, and there's some sort of, you're collecting people's emails, or you're getting them into a competition, or in some way you're sort of retaining them. It's just absolutely amazing that the eyes that you can get on this is crazy. Like the reach, organic reach can be, for like a filter to use it organically, can be the same as, I don't have the figures. I did a presentation at AdWorld, and I said it there, but now I can't remember what it is. But like if you spent about $7,000 like USD, it would take about the same amount, that money would get you the same amount of reach as like the average AR filter that's going viral on Instagram or Reel would get you for free. So it's absolutely it's just insane, just stunning.
And also it builds, like it you know, with the ads, when you stop paying, your reach stops. Whereas with an AR filter, you put it out, it runs, it's still there as a reference point. And I think that's the cool part of it, is thinking about, like, it's not just something you can use in your ads, it's something that you can use on site, on your social channels, so that you do get a lot more like value from this product. It's not like an ad campaign that stops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in your email, you can put it in Messenger. People have got Messenger chatbots where you open up the AR experience. You can put it into an email so people go through to the link. Socials, you can just like DM it to people if you want, if you've got some sort of automation going on. There's so many different ways of doing it. And you can also embed it into your website. You know, things like Shopify, they've got a lot of apps now that support, and they have for a while now, supported 3D and AR imagery. So you can have that asset made for your ad, but the asset can actually then also be put into the back end of your Shopify store. And it could be this super unique experience where people can go in and, you know, with 3D image, just have a look at it, see how it is, or with AR, like try it on and actually like basically have the same experience they're having in the ad, but a little bit more in depth.
That's so cool. And one of the questions we always ask people on the podcast is, like, what are your predictions for the future for e-commerce? So my question is, like, what does the future of AR ads look like for e-commerce?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So in my mind, like the way AR is going to probably dominate marketing in the next 1 to 2 years is my prediction. So the AR adoption rate is growing exponentially every year, especially since like the pandemic, to the point where it was, I think it was like 500,000 a couple years ago, and it's now reached just over 1 billion. Did I just say 500,000? Sorry, I mean, I meant 0.5 billion a couple of years ago, and then now it's about 1.1 billion. And it's predicted to be like 2025, about 75% of the general population will use AR within their daily lives or within marketing. So it's going to be a thing that's going to really take people by storm. And the reason I think it's going to be so powerful and it's going to be adopted by so many people is that it's the bridge between where we are now and where the metaverse, you know, the concept of the metaverse is, where people are going to be spending most of their time. Like, I don't feel like people are actually going to have that many physical things. They'll put their, you know, their VR headset on and they'll have their computer there, their office, their keyboard, their TV, everything. You'll just need a fridge probably with food in real life. You can just have this like cupboard you can live in. But that's such a big step for people to appreciate, like, how are we going to be where we are now? And we're just spending all our time with our, you know, screen in our face. Although we do spend a lot of our time with screens in our face already. So that's why I feel like AR is that bridge between those two. So that's why I feel like AR is going to dominate. And, you know, if you're someone who's really interested in getting on this, I would do it sooner rather than later, because it's going to take everyone by storm. It would just take someone like Google, or who actually have announced now they're doing AR for their like search ads and things like that. And then people will start to see the use cases won't be questioned anymore. They'll know, they'll say, okay, Google are doing it now, let's all do it. And it'll be this huge thing that everyone starts doing. So right now, because it's quite unique, it's just a way of super standing out from your competition. And really just getting, you know, the issue we face as marketers is, how do we develop this really strong relationship with our customers in a very short space of time with so much, you know, people are really overwhelmed with information and they haven't potentially even gone onto the platform to shop, you know, most of the time they haven't. So how do we get the message through that we're, you know, we have something that solves their problem, or we give them this unique experience? And AR answers all of that. And it also answers a lot of the problems that, you know, the iOS updates have sort of forced upon us of the, you know, all the tracking issues. And it's all on platform. And it's also something that Meta prefer. So you're giving people an experience that keeps them on the platform for longer. Therefore, they're going to reward you in that way with lower CPMs. And the CPMs are also be lower because no one else is running this format. So there's less competition in the auction. So many of these things that just so show that it's going to be, you know, it's really going to take off, I think, in the next couple of years.
And again, it's that whole it's that whole approach of keeping people in, I was going to say Meta's sandbox, but in Meta's sandpit, or in their world, so that you're consuming the initial piece of content in the feed, you're engaging with the augmented reality filter on an instant experience, and then you're even ultimately buying the product on their shop, so that it almost bypasses a lot of the issues that we've had with iOS, because it's all in the Meta playground, so that they can control all the data points, all of the movements, the touch, possibly even like eye movements and things like that for retargeting. Like it's all fueling their algorithm. And I know we had a chat about like the endless possibilities of how that also feeds into things like dynamic catalogs, where you talked about augmented reality catalogs. I would love for you to kind of explain like where you see that going for brands as well, because my mind was like blown by the thought of that.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? And this is something I thought would have happened a bit earlier, because I know that Shopify were working a lot with Facebook with the whole shops thing. And I know it's definitely bigger on Instagram. It's been more adopted. But I was definitely feeling like it would all be very in-house on Facebook, like the whole e-commerce world. You wouldn't even leave the platform to like look at stuff and use a shop and pay on the store and everything. And that's not quite happened yet. But I do think that that's very likely to be something that's going to be maybe accelerated by AR, especially with things, as you mentioned, like the AR catalog. So you'll be able to see an ad, click into the ad, and then you'll open up your camera and you can try things on. So you can try things in your space, you can try things on yourself, shoes, watches, jewelry, makeup, clothing, and then you'll have an option to just buy it. You just send payment and then you have the thing delivered. I mean, there's not really that much more information needed. You tried it on, you've learned about the brand a little bit more, and there'll be different ways of growing authority with the customers and things like that. But I think that's probably quite likely to happen. Or whether it be housed, like you have the experience and you go through to an in-platform based checkout system that gives you a bit more information about shipping and things like that. But it could like really speed up the amount of like how quickly people's purchasing decision is made, and obviously then limit the amount of abandoned checkouts and all that sort of stuff we're facing. And also, as a sort of side thing, it will also deal with a lot of customer service issues, like a lot of customer experience things, because people are able to really experience what the product's going to be like for them. So there'll need to be a lot of, making sure that the experience you're giving people and the thing that they're seeing is exactly what it looks like in the real world. And, the thing about e-commerce when it sort of first came about is that people were uncertain that they're going to, order this t-shirt and it's going to come and it's going to be like a t-shirt for a doll or something like that, and not be at all like the image they thought. So that's where it's going to be like the reliance on AR to be as realistic as possible, so that people can truly like really experience the thing that they're going to be purchasing, and then of course then trust you a lot more.
Yeah, I can see now just from the conversation today why you're so bullish on this space. Like the ideas and the capabilities are absolutely insane, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people listening that are going to want to follow along with what you're doing, Rich. So what's the best place for people to connect with you, to get in touch, or possibly collaborate with you?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely urge everyone who's interested in finding out more about use cases and case studies to join my free Facebook group. So it's called AR Ads Strategies. So just search that, or just search AR Ads and it will come up. I'm very active on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and we also have augmentedhype.com as our website. So you can go on there and learn a bit more about what we do. I'm also speaking at AdWorld in a couple months as well. So if you're a regular AdWorlder, definitely catch me on there. And there might be some more events coming up later, and podcasts. I'd love to be on these things because, you can tell I just love talking about this. So yeah. I can talk till the cows come home. So yeah, I think the best way to reach out, I'm happy to answer any questions. So just reach out to me on Facebook. It's Rich Watson. No, sorry, Rich Watson 27 is my, facebook.com/Rich Watson 27 is my Facebook profile. But yeah, I'd really be happy to chat to anyone join the group, ask any questions you want, and let's get some AI going.
Yeah, Rich, thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved the conversation today. I think I'm going to spend the rest of the day with my mind like thinking about all these crazy ideas. Like you've really kind of set some cogs moving. I think what I'd love to do as well is to get you back on in a couple of months and just track this development, because it's such an exciting space, and I've loved every minute of our conversation.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'd happy to come back on this. I think it's been amazing. It's been really interesting for me. There's a lot of things that you don't really understand fully until you actually like explain them to someone, and that's a really good, way of everyone to understand a little bit more. So yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been amazing. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
Cheers.